Hundreds of everyday household items are about to get a lot more expensive thanks to President Trump's trade war and specifically the steel and aluminum tariffs. The tariffs were initially only expected to hit raw materials, but now they include goods containing steel and aluminum. CNN's Matt Egan has this for us. What?
Now, I haven't dived into the exact details on this particular thing, but uh, initially I was very against tariffs. Coming from the Milton Friedman mindset, where if you can get something cheaper, get it for cheaper. Um, these protectionist tariffs that are coming into play when it comes to steel and aluminum, I can get behind the idea, right? Because in a situation where whether there's a war or listen, you shouldn't be dependent upon another country for everything, especially when it comes to the basic manufacturing of goods, right? There should be something put in place in your, like, perfect example. Look at when COVID happened. We couldn't get medication. I mean, that's not good, right? You have to have some section of the American economy that's at least producing it, even if it's at a small scale where they can ramp up production later on. Absolutely necessary. So, well, while in the beginning I was very anti-tariff and stuff like that, I can see the strategic point behind it, and it kind of makes sense. Let's see what they're talking about here, because if it's just a matter of just any aluminum coming in terms of like inside of products, I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work.
What is going on and what should people be expecting?
Well, Kate, this is a big deal, right? Even as inflation is heating up, the Trump administration is quietly making it even more expensive to import hundreds of items that all of us would see on store shelves. So this is a major expansion of those 50% steel and aluminum tariffs. Previously, those tariffs shielded items that just simply contained steel and aluminum. Not anymore. Starting this week, those 50% tariffs apply to the steel and aluminum content on many items, right? This impacts more than 400 product categories, right? And some of these are household items, right? Everything from butter knives and baby strollers to even canned deodorant, furniture as well. A whole bunch of household items impacted, and some industrial items too. Look at this: cranes, bulldozers, wind turbines, rail cars. It's hard to see how expanding the tariffs to those items is going to help achieve some key Trump administration goals, like making it more affordable to buy homes and build homes, right? Or to get American energy dominance. But the Trump administration says they're doing this really for two reasons. One, to try to crack down on people who are trying to circumvent existing tariffs. And the other reason here is they say they're trying to revive the steel and aluminum industries. But analysts, they do warn that this is just going to add even more inflationary pressure at a time that, yes, we are seeing inflation heat up, especially at the
Can't involve inflationary pressure, right? Inflation is made in one place. You have to print money in order to get inflation. If what they're saying is this is going to involve prices to inflate, right? That is a different thing. Prices inflating and inflationary pressure are two different things. Inflationary pressure is your dollar being worth less, right? So depending upon in these particular sectors, maybe your dollars would be worth less, right? Worth less than before. However, overall, I mean, unless they're saying this is going to be a sweeping thing, which is kind of, it seems like what they're going on here, right? That these things are going to be so ubiquitous that, every single dollar you spend is going to be impacted by this particular strategy. Seems to me like, if I'm looking at it from an outsider perspective, obviously like I am because I'm not part of the administration, but seems like this would be another negotiating tactic, another negotiating strategy. I can't see that just before the midterms coming on that Trump wants everyone to start paying more money for things. It's at the end of it all, I think that this is going to be just another pressure point to pressure countries into coming to the negotiating table. Ultimately, what is this all about? In my opinion, is all about China. That's all this is about, right? He just wants to squeeze the last drops out of China left that he can get so that he can get a killer deal with them. They are definitely on the ropes right now. All the deals. Every time you see, him meeting with somebody, every time you see talks from the White House, anything you see, zero talk about China. No one's talking about them. Why? Right? Because he essentially wants to ban them from the news cycle. He wants to just put them out of America's minds. He wants to essentially have people forget about China. And what is happening to China right now? They are dwindling. They're losing jobs. Their economy is crumbling right now because they depended on us as their, as their sugar daddy. That's essentially what it was. So, in my 30,000 view of this particular scenario, that's what it's for. It's a pressure point on China to keep applying pressure as much as you can. He's already made the deals with other countries, right? All that's already made. So I don't know how this doesn't seem like it can apply to a country where a deal's already been made, right? So take that for what it's worth. Think about it. By the way, please subscribe to the channel. Small channel here, trying to grow. Just hit the subscribe button. Costs you absolutely nothing. Takes 1 second. Please click it. Right? If you have a deal with the EU, this should not apply to the EU. I can't see how this is going to apply to the. So now, basically, you're reneging on their deal. No, of course not. The deal is going to be what the deal is. This is solely for the countries that haven't come to the negotiating table and have a solid deal. Which, to me, the only big player left right now in that market in that group is China. That's what this is for.
Wholesale item level, and we're also seeing that people are very much frustrated with the cost of living. Now, the Trump administration has argued that foreign countries will eat the tariffs, right? They're going to slash their prices just to try to maintain market share in the U.S. But we're not seeing evidence of that.
At all?
It's not. What you would expect to see would be import prices, which are measured before tariffs, to come down. But look at this. We're seeing the exact opposite. In July, import prices went up by a larger than expected amount, suggesting that foreign countries are not eating the tariffs. That's why analysts are increasingly confident that it's really U.S. consumers that are shouldering.
All right, but that is a data point. Again, I have to do a little bit more research, but just looking at it as somebody who's watching the news, that's what I just want to watch the news, get the information, process it, and try to think where are they going with this. Where is that number from? Is that an aggregate of all countries? Is that only taking countries into account that have a trade deal? Is that countries that don't have a trade deal? What's the nitty gritty on that data? That 0.4% increase from tariffs. It's probably a total, probably an aggregate of all the countries put together. That's not really a great assessment, right? In my view, you would need to separate out who's made deals and who hasn't, right? And where are those prices reflected? Right? What's the percentage of tariff that's levied against that country right now? Right? Because they're saying that it increased more than you thought, but if these countries are paying 25% tariff and the amount that increased was 0.4% or whatever that, what's the real numbers? What's the numbers behind the numbers is essentially what you have to find, what you have to look for when you're looking at newscasts like this.
During the cost here, as well as businesses, right? Talked to Samuel Toombs over at Pantheon Economics, and he said foreigners are not paying for President Trump's tariffs. That leaves U.S. consumers and businesses shouldering nearly all of the additional costs. So look, if they're shouldering the costs, if you're looking at businesses, that might mean they're going to hire fewer workers, or they're going to possibly pass on the cost to all of us as consumers. Either way, there is a price.
Yeah, so that price at this point now is 0.4%. From what they're saying, a 0.4% increase when some of these countries are paying 20, I mean, the ones that have deals are paying 15%, right? The ones that have deals. So in essence, shouldn't you see a 15% increase, over the cost of goods? I mean, if I'm getting $100 worth of stuff and 0.4, that's not even that's 40 cents. So 40 cents on $100. Meanwhile, you're taking in now $15 off that $100 in the form of tariffs. Again, these are, you got to break down these newscasts. You got to see what it is they're trying to. They're spinning it. That's all it comes down to. Just in this analysis, and that's why when I watch these things, I don't like watching them ahead of time. I like coming into them with a fresh state of mind. And I actually thought this through while I was watching it, and that's what makes sense to me. So if you're telling me there's a 4% tariff increase, meanwhile the countries that have deals have a 15% increase on their end, it seems like they're eating them. No, well, you guys let me know. Drop down in the comments. Let me know. 6283 Talk on the X if you want to hit me up on the X. Thanks a lot, guys. Please subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. See you in the next video. Later.